That's us going.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this spotlight session. As you can see, the title is Pet Shop Girl, and the reason for Pet Shop Girl will become apparent as we go on in our chat tonight. But we're here to celebrate crime writer Jackie McLean, her Donna Davenport series, and also some news about some other writing as well will be forthcoming in our time together. This evening, we have gathered four bookish people who are friends and colleagues of Jackie's and who are each going to take a book to talk about. Each talk about what that book means and what Jackie's writing means to them. We also have a link to Jackie's books on Amazon. That will be, it's there in the chat. And so please do feel free. We would encourage you, if you are not familiar with the fabulous writing of author Jackie McLean, we would encourage you to pop onto that link or pop round to your local bookstore and order that Donna Davenport series, especially if you're a fan of a good old police procedural, because it is an absolute cracking series. So again, we'd like to encourage you as well, if you would like to make comments or have questions, please do feel free to put those in the chat. And before we start, I just want to say a huge shout out to Lindsay, who is hosting the event for us tonight, looking after us, making sure that we're going live, and who will actually then put this event up on YouTube for those people who weren't able to catch us live tonight. So thank you, Lindsay. We are most grateful. So without further ado, I would like to bring in our first author, Tanner Collins. Tanner, the floor is yours. What are you going to do for us this evening with regard to Jackie McLean's writing?
Right. Good evening, everyone. Oh, is that? Oh dear, what's happening there?
You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just carry on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a short reading, but I will just introduce the novel. I'm going to hold it up. So that is the debut novel of Jackie's, and I'd like to say this about it. I've had the pleasure of rereading Jackie's debut novel, Toxic, in this wonderful D.I. Donna Davenport trilogy. And what has really struck me is what an incredibly good writer Jackie McLean is. I think we'd all agree with that. She's got a really powerful protagonist in Donna, who suffers from bipolar disorder, which she's trying to hide from her colleagues at work because of the stigma attached to mental health. So she's obviously terrified that she's going to lose her job when they find out. And I think we might say a little bit more about that after my reading, but the passage I'm about to read is very early in the book, so there's no spoilers in this one. Donna has gone to her safe place to think. And to be honest, we all need one of those, don't we? We all need a safe place. And I particularly love this extract because not only does it give the reader an insight into the main character of Donna, but I really think, having reread particularly this a second time, that Jackie is also really adept at weaving in local history. And for me, this passage brings the history and people of Tayside alive. So see what you think about this. Donna sat on the grassy bank, gazing out across the Firth of Tay, her eye falling upon the bridge. Her doctor had been right to suggest she find somewhere like this. It was a place that gave her space in her head to think, to get things into perspective. The driver of the black Skoda slowly eased himself from the car and stood watching Donna's back. He could tell from the tremor in her shoulders that she was upset. Crying or fuming, he wasn't sure. He watched as she swallowed 2 lithium pills, a sure sign that something had happened. Donna hated the pills, but she'd learned to read the signs now, and she'd been ignoring them for too long. She could see that here in this quiet place. She could see how the mood roller coaster had begun to affect her decisions and her behaviour again during the 6 weeks since breaking up with Libby. She was arguing with Angus Ross nearly all the time now, and he'd been such a good friend to her in the past. But she just couldn't talk to him about this. She was sure others had begun to notice at work and feared it would only be a matter of time before they figured it out if she didn't get a grip on her life and take control, even if it meant taking those damn pills. The stumps of the old Tay Bridge followed the new one like an eerie stalker, popping above the waterline no matter when you looked, refusing to let go of the memories of the 75 souls drowned there in the 1878 disaster. This always worked for Donna. Taking a deep breath, she squinted across the span of water whose bobbing ripples reflected dazzling sunlight straight back at her, and allowed her imagination to replay the noise of the hurricane-force storm on the night of the famous bridge disaster. Those huge waves thundering against the bridge, the petticoats, top hats, and sturdy luggage being bundled onto the train, their faces, the colour of their hair and their eyes, the cries of alarm as the train pulled its way across the raging Firth. She always tried to see their faces. Donna held her head in her hands as she listened for the ghastly creaking of tearing metal, as the winds ripped through the ironwork and wrenched the bridge from its casters, pitching the train and its screaming, terrified passengers to a terrible, storm-ravaged grave, the train lights disappearing into the waves. Silent today, but these waters still held the 30 or so who had never recovered. Donna took out a new packet of cigarettes and lit one. Yes, it put this day into perspective, she told herself. The ghosts of the wreckage told her that things could never get that bad. But she'd had enough, and she had to make a decision. A cop, she said, flicking cigarette ash onto the grass beside her. Not a cop, with the next flick. She withdrew her warrant card from her jacket pocket, glanced at it, and wondered if it would float or sink if she pitched it into the bobbing water right now. She held it out, as if offering it to the lost passengers. Flick with the ash, a cop. Flick, not a cop. Flick, a cop. Flick, last flick left, not a cop. Donna stubbed the cigarette out on the grass and stood up. There it was, decision made. She threw her warrant card into the water at javelin thrower's pitch, where it hit with hardly a ripple and vanished. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Tana, for introducing us to Donna Davenport. And it's wonderful. Thank you for that reading. I wonder, and I've just seen there, Aves Khan's with us. Hello, great to see you there. I don't know if anybody else is with us, but if you are, pop up and say hi. Just good to know that people are there and enjoying this moment with us. And I should say, Jackie Ali, I think you might well be watching, and if you are, just sending you lots of love across the airways. And yeah, just enjoying being together and sharing your work this evening. Tana, tell us what that reading means to you and that first book and Jackie's writing in general. Tell us about that.
So I asked Jackie fairly recently what made Donna stand out from other fictional detectives. And I think I've kind of alluded to this already. And Jackie said it's basically because the character is suffering from bipolar. But she's not taking her medication properly. And what it's doing is it's making her behavior unpredictable and it's making it erratic. But she also happens to be brilliant at her job. So she's got all these positives, but she's really struggling with her mental health, particularly at the start of the book. She has just, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks into splitting up from her long-term partner, Libby. And both Libby and Donna, I nearly said Jackie there. We talked about this before, but I actually think there is quite a lot of Jackie in Donna. So she's having a real struggle with the mental health. But I think what I love is, well, I love so many things, I wouldn't know where to start. But as time is of the essence, I think it's very brave of Jackie, and I'm sure everyone's in agreement, not just to highlight mental health issues, but to give her central character bipolar disorder. And one of the things that you realize when you read Jackie's books is that she does an awful lot of research. So she's really researched bipolar. We obviously see her right at the start there, where she's going to turn her back on the force. As far as she's concerned, she's leaving. She's leaving before she gets pushed out. But before she really has a chance to leave, if I just mention the plot, because this is an amazing plot line, is that the police discover traces of a volatile and highly toxic substance, MIC, in Tayside in Scotland. And it's the same substance that was responsible for the Bhopal disaster in India back in 1984. And this event, the Bhopal disaster, is clearly an event that really touched Jackie's heart. And she wanted to weave a story around that. So the prologue in this book it really grabs you. It's very hard to read, actually, but I would urge readers to read the prologue, read the book, because it takes you right back to Bhopal. And the story, which really becomes, it's not a straightforward police procedural. I think it's very much a crime thriller. It becomes a race against time to find the MIC before it potentially kills hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Scotland, and to find the criminal gang behind it. And Donna finds that she has a pivotal role in this new investigation, but she's having to work alongside another detective, one that she doesn't like. In fact, they don't like each other, but she also doesn't trust. And it's D.I. Jonas Eventon, who will be discussed a bit later. It's an incredibly exciting novel, this. It's full of twists and turns. Jackie's brilliant at building tension. I found it a really emotional read because it's based partly on true events, and the ending is absolutely nail-biting. And that's what I got to say about this book. So I'm just going to hold it up again for those. There you go. That's Toxic.
Tana, thank you so much for introducing us to that first book. I was just thinking of the scene that you read for us, and thinking, oh my God, the throwing away of that warrant card, and we might not have had more books in the series, but we have. So that is good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Karen Spears has commented, great to hear parts of this story again, and we're so proud of you, Jackie. And Jackie's with us. Hi, Jackie. Good evening to you. I hope you're enjoying hearing your work read out loud. And Avice has said, Tana, that your voice is amazing, and he could see you narrating audiobooks. So
you're being a run for his money. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Hi, Simon. Simon Buick's with us, and he's saying congratulations on all your work so far and all that's to come, Jackie. That's lovely. And Kelly, hi, Kelly. So glad to have you with us. Thanks for sending your love. What a beautiful feel there is to our time together. So I'm going to mute my mic in a minute, and I am going to ask our next author with us, Marion Todd. Marion, tell us the book that you're going to talk about, and I know you've got another reading for us, which is great. So I'll mute my mic and I'll give you the floor.
Thanks so much, Jackie. The book I'm going to talk about is, book 2 in the D.I. Donna Davenport series, Shadows. And it picks up 18 months after the end of Toxic, book 1 that Tana's just talked about, with Donna having had a long period of rehabilitation after dramatic events at the end of Toxic. So read Toxic. And she's preparing to go back to work. On the day that she is going into work, a midwife is reported missing. And subsequently, a body is found, and it appears that the body is of the missing midwife. And as the investigation proceeds, the team begin to realise that there may be a connection to a midwife who was also killed 2 years earlier. And the investigation starts to take on a different tone. And this kind of harks back to what Tana was saying about Jackie, kind of strong social conscience for these issues that affect the world and the people who inhabit it, because she was actually, I believe, asked to write this book in order to throw light on a particularly shockingly horrible form of human trafficking involving mothers and babies. And the midwives obviously are involved in this. And because this was one of these things that no one really wanted to put their head up and risk reprisals by reporting, they said to Jackie, would you write a book about it? And Shadows was the incredible result. And I think that is so typical of Jackie to, rather than think I would like to write about this, someone says to her, this is a kind of really shockingly bad social issue. And she's taken it and she's come up with this wonderful book. But it's not just a social kind of commentary on the world that we're living in. It's beautifully written as well. It's very entertaining. She uses dialogue brilliantly to illustrate character, which is so much more clever than telling us what a character's like. We listen to Donna. She's snappy. She's bad-tempered. She's kind of humorous. And then there's another character who comes in, a new officer who's very kind of jumpy around Donna, doesn't like Donna. And all of this is shown to us through dialogue. But then there's wonderful little phrases, like one where she talks about fishermen and seagulls going head to head. And I think you can see the fishing boat with the seagulls following as the catch comes up. And then another one describing needling raindrops. And who hasn't been caught in the rain and you're walking into the rain and it's pinging on your face. And I just thought, yes, she does this so beautifully. Tara spoke about her research, and I'd like to echo what she said there. Jackie's research is meticulous. I'll tell you a funny story in a moment about that. She talks in her book about the partition of India. She speaks about the geography and the culture of Syria and Turkey. But none of this is delivered to us like a lecture. She wears it very lightly. We almost learn about these things by osmosis because it's so subtly, so cleverly dripped through the book. It's beautifully done, and it's something that I really envy. But the funniest bit of research was towards the end of this book, there's a kind of scene where there's a lot of guns and weapons, and Donna and her colleague are in jeopardy. And Jackie took herself off to learn how to fire a gun. And the video of this was up on Twitter. And Jackie, if you're watching, please, I beg of you, share it again tomorrow or tonight, because it's just so funny. It's exactly what you would imagine. It's like holding the gun out and then, when she fires, it's very, very amusing. And that's the extent that she goes to. But going back to the book, there's a dark, brooding undercurrent that comes from a character who is watching Jackie. And we think it may be a character from book one, but you're not absolutely sure. We know it's male. And the extract that I would like to read is from fairly early on in the book, just near the beginning of chapter 7. I'm just going to change my glasses so that I can read it. And it's said from the point of view of the person who is watching and stalking Jackie. And this person is in her head, but we are also privy to their thoughts. And I'll just read a little bit of their kind of headspace. There she was, Donna Davenport. He was going to have to be more careful. While it was an unexpected bonus to see her out here, it wouldn't do to get caught out. With her return to work, he was going to have to learn her new routines. He couldn't take his eyes off her. She was wearing that long, sleek leather jacket that he liked, and her mid-length blonde hair ruffled fashionably chaotic in the early winter breeze. A remarkable amount of activity went on here. People leaving the building, some arriving back from wherever, mail delivery, bin collections, cars with screaming sirens racing from behind the complex every 2 minutes. It was a wonder he still managed to feel invisible while he sat watching her. But who wouldn't feel invisible next to her? A shadow next to her glow, basking in the light, basking like a shark. No, 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 he wasn't a shark. He would never harm her. But you want to. No, he would only make her happy, lived to make her happy. His heart rate quickened as she walked towards him. Oh my God! But she walked on by, never glancing in his direction. Then she doubled back, walked the perimeter of the car park, and went back inside the building. Well, he thought, now that she was safely inside, no time like the present. And he opened his car door and got out. Shadows, ladies and gents, please, you have to read it. It's wonderful.
Marion, thank you again. What an absolutely delicious evening to be read to by such fabulous authors reading such amazing texts. It feels, yeah, totally. And just to say, hi, Alison. Yeah, Alison says good evening as well. And she says she promises she will share that video again, Marion, so we can watch Jackie's escapades with firearms.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, excellent. Marion, if I can just ask you one more question.
Of course.
Just about Donna, because what is coming clear to me as each one of you is reading is that Donna Davenport is a very special person. You know, what moves her, you know, regardless of, as Tana's, you know, talked about, regardless of those issues, this is, you know, an amazing professional on the job. And I just wondered if you had to spend the evening with Donna Davenport, what one question would you like to ask her?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think I would like to ask her, when you're presented with a crime scene, what's the first thing that you do? How do you look at a body or a break-in or whatever you're surveying? Where does your head go? What is firing off in here? And how do you quickly, because pressure's on, people are watching, press might have arrived, as they do in this book. What do you do to remain calm that furthers the investigation? Because I'm a crime writer, I want the pay.
You want to know? Yeah, tell us how you do it. I am sure, and I'm sure she would be ready with that response as well. Thank you, Marion, for sharing that with us. Thank you. So, 2 books in. I hope if you haven't read Jackie's books, that you are thinking, I know what's going to be going to the top of my to be read pile. Treat yourselves. These are absolutely fabulous books. And I think what's striking me as you read it, I actually love to be read to rather than read. I see the words better when people read. And for me, it's Jackie's attention to detail. You know, in every scene, it's that detail there. It's beautiful. So thank you, Marion. I'm going to move to our next author now. Wonderful, amazing, Leslie Kelly. Leslie, welcome. Thank you for offering to read. Would you introduce the book and your reading? I'll give you the floor. I'll mute my mic. It's over to you.
Thank you, Jackie. So the book that I'm reading is Run, which is part 3 of the trilogy. And by the time you get to the 3rd book in a trilogy, it's very difficult to talk about it without giving anything at all away that could be considered a spoiler. So a bit of a spoiler alert here. And if anybody wants to mute themselves until I'm back off screen, finish talking about this book, I won't be at all offended. But this book, I have to say, I am sure that Jackie must have had an absolute field day writing this, because it features one of her great loves in it, which is, of course, Arbroath Football Club. And Run starts with a death at Arbroath Football Club of a not very popular referee, as if there's another sort. And I think one of the joys of being a crime writer is that if you have a really bad day, you can go home and you can murder somebody. And I think that this is what happened here. I think that Jackie was particularly upset about a call that didn't go the Red Lichties way and decided, I'm having my revenge here, that this man's going to die. So the bit that I'm reading from, it features the baddie in this book is called Jonas Eventon. And I'm reading a bit from her book about women that's ended up in hospital as a result of his actions. So, Donna pulled her chair in close to the bedside and held eye contact with Marnie. She retrieved 2 pictures from her pocket, a photograph of Jonas Aventon before he'd arrived, before he'd altered his appearance through extensive plastic surgery, and a photo fit of his most recent likeness as seen by Donna and Fran. Do either of these look like the man who threatened you? She asked, holding the pictures in front of Marnie. Marnie gazed at them for several moments, her eyes moving from one to the other, but Donna could tell the answer was no. Damn it, she thought. Have you seen him at all before? She asked. I've seen him in the papers, Marnie said, pointing to the older photograph, but I've never met him. Isn't he that murderer? She drew her hand back from the picture suddenly, alarmed. You don't have to worry, Donna tried to reassure her. We're asking everyone if they've seen him. Now, can you tell me exactly what happened this morning? I already told the police that when they came to the flat, said Marnie, becoming more agitated. At that moment, Dr. Wyatt stuck his head in the door and shot Donna a warning glance. I'll just be 1 more minute, Donna told her. Then she turned back to Marnie. It's okay, she said. Sometimes people remember more things later on. She ran through the scant details in her mind that she'd read in Marnie's statement taken at the scene. She'd been walking up Arbroath High Street when a man, medium height, slim, light brown hair and an accent, maybe Eastern European, had bumped into her and threatened her with a knife. He'd told her to follow him into the flat, where he'd left her with a set of instructions and no illusions about what would happen to her if she failed to comply. Actually, there was another thing, Marnie said, surprising Donna. Did you say your name was Donna? Donna felt her stomach lurch, and not for the first time today she felt the hairs in the back of her neck stand on end. Her fear, her dread, and her excitement all rolled into one as the traumatised young woman in the hospital bed sought out her bag from the bedside cabinet. She rummaged in it and brought out a folded piece of paper. He told me to wait until I saw you face to face, said Marnie. He said I had to give this message to you. Her shaking hand held out the piece of paper to Donna. Donna took it, opened it up, and saw written on it one single word. Run.
Oh my.
Yep.
Now, listen, I think this, again, testimony to such powerful writing, okay, when you may have read or heard a piece before, and then it gets read again, and it's like, the impact is still there. I think, again, you know, that idea of writing that is living and that carries you along. And Leslie, for you, Jackie's writing, when you think of, you know, Jackie's books, what does it make you feel? What do you think about?
Well, I think it was really interesting hearing to the other authors talking about the books, because there's a lot of recurring themes in them. And I think Tana picked up on both the issues about mental health, which recur all the way through them, and also the issues about local colour. And I think, you know, Arbroath, Dundee, these all feature in it as like another character in the book. You know, they're so well drawn in them. And then Marion picking up on sort of the women and violence, again, a kind of recurring theme in them. And the sort of idea of a social conscience, and Donna very, very much has that social conscience. So I think all these things, you know, really resonated for me and made her a very, very believable character, and a real sort of difference from, you know, the traditional detective whose issues are around, you know, chasing women and getting drunk. This was somebody really, really different, and I've not quite seen anybody quite like that in other detective stories.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with you about how can somebody, you know, a detective series, there's so many detectives out there, and yet to create this different persona that makes you think, oh yeah, I need to be in here because I love this kind of thing, but you've given me somebody different, you know, to spend time with, and that is great. Just a couple of comments. Jackie Baldwin, hi Jackie, lovely to have you with us, has said, chilling in response to your reading. Yes. Aris is loving the readings, and Jackie says, wow, I was hooked and it was me that wrote it. Yeah, well, Jackie, I think again that's the power of your written word.
That's so generous.
Yeah, it absolutely does that. It is fabulous. So, a trilogy, a powerful set of books, and I know we're going to hear soon about there may be some more writing on the way, which always I've just got goosebumps talking about that. Before I do, I should say a shout out for somebody who's not come on the chat, but just to say that this is being watched in LA by the wonderful Sybil Westbrook. Hi, Sybil. Welcome. And to anybody else who's watching around the world, I think I'm allowed to say this is some awesome Scottish crime writing because, Leslie, you mentioned those locations, and it's locations that maybe, again, aren't often championed when people think about Scottish crime writing. So, again, take a wander into some of these towns and find maybe a different corner of Scotland to ensconce yourself in. Well, we have a fourth person with us this evening, editor and author Ian Skewis. Hi, Ian. It's so wonderful for you to be here. And thank you for the gorgeous display of Jackie's work there. It's lovely to see yeah. Here's a set I made earlier. That's wonderful. I'm going to mute. I'm going to leave the mic to you. And if you just explain what it is that you're going to do and why, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. It's lovely to be here. And what I'm going to do this evening is to read from that very well-known novel of crime and carnage, and that is Watership Down by Richard Adams. And this is actually Jackie's favourite novel. And I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to read this because it's now become one of my favourite novels. As most of you, some of you certainly will remember the film, the animated film, back in the late 70s, and then there was a remake more recently. But I'd never read the novel, and the novel is beautifully written, and it basically tells it's a fairly straightforward story. I mean, it's aimed at children, but what's so good about it is that it's so dark, as a lot of children's stories tend to be, I suppose. There's always a moral in there somewhere. So this particular story, for those of you who have not read it or not seen the feature films, this is about a group of rabbits who have to leave their home and struggle to find a new home. And they are led by a reluctant hero who's called Hazel. And Hazel is so likeable, such a thoroughly likeable character. He's got an air of unsung nobility about him. I just think I love Hazel's story. I love him as a character. So he's the leader, the reluctant hero, the reluctant leader of the Warren. And he has a younger brother called Fiver, and Fiver has the gift of second sight. And it's all because of Fiver that they have to leave, because Fiver can detect some danger approaching. And Hazel, being, you know, is slightly doubtful about this at first, but he does recall that this is his younger brother. He trusts him implicitly. So he decides to go against some of the doubters in the Warren, and they all leave. And the book really picks up from all their misadventures along the way. And some of the book goes into quite dark territory. And so, since we're discussing dark territory and crime writing, I thought we'd choose an especially dark moment to read from. And before I do that, though, there's some rabbit language that needs to perhaps be explained. So I'm going to do a very, very brief glossary of terms. It's just 3 words that are used in this particular section. So the first one is Ifrafan Ausla. So Ifrafan Ausla means it's the Warren that is led by the villain of the piece, General Woundwort. And he is in charge of the Warren, which is called Ifrafa, and his followers are the Ifrafans. And Ausla is it's kind of like his police force. You know, his ruling elite, so hence the term Ifrafan Ausla. The second term is Lord Frith. Lord Frith is the sun, who the rabbits worship as a god, as do some Glaswegians, and then we all get burnt to crisps afterwards. And then the last one is Hrudoodle, and Hrudoodle try to say that after a few gin and tonics, is an engine. It's basically anything that contains an engine, and it's one of the things describing the human world. So, and it's onomatopoeic, so it sounds, you know, hru-doodle, hru-doodle, hru-doodle. It sounds like an engine ticking over. So that's the idea behind it. So this is the section that I'm going to read from. It's going to be very hard to describe to you what happened next. Although all four of us were there, we don't understand it ourselves. But what I'm going to say now is the cold truth. Lord Frith sent one of his great messengers to save us from the Ifrafan Ausla. Each one of us had fallen over the edge of the bank in one place or another. Buckthorn, who was half blinded with his own blood, went down almost to the bottom. I'd picked myself up and was looking back at the top. There was just enough light in the sky to see the Ifrafans if they came over. And then an enormous thing. I can't give you any idea of it. As big as 1,000 hru-doodle, bigger, came rushing out of the night. It was full of fire and smoke and light, and it roared and beat on the metal lines until the ground shook beneath it. It drove in between us and the Ifrafans like 1,000 thunderstorms with lightning. I tell you, I was beyond being afraid. I couldn't move. The flashing and the noise, they split the whole night apart. I don't know what happened to the Ifrafans. Either they ran away or it cut them down. And then suddenly it was gone, and we heard it disappearing, rattle and bang, far away in the distance. We were completely alone. For a long time I couldn't move. At last I got up and found the others, one by one in the dark. None of us said a word. At the bottom of the slope, we discovered a kind of tunnel that went right through the bank from one side to the other. We crept into it and came out on the side where we'd gone up. Then we went a long way through the fields until I reckoned we must be well clear of Ifrafa. We crawled into a ditch and slept there, all four of us, until morning. There was no reason why anything shouldn't have come and killed us. And yet, we knew we were safe. You may think it's a wonderful thing to be saved by Lord Frith in his power. How many rabbits has that happened to, I wonder? But I tell you, it was far more frightening than being chased by the Ifrafans. Not one of us will forget lying on that bank in the rain while the fire creature went by above our heads. Why did it come on our account? That's more than we shall ever know.
Thank you, Ian. Oh, thank you so much. I wonder, are you all snuggled down there, safe in your burrows? You lovely people that are watching. Alison's put some lovely bunny images there. And Helen Forbes, hi Helen, thank you for being with us and thank you for sharing this evening. Ian, just to come back to Jackie, and you know, you're such good friends, and I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about what you know, just Jackie and her writing, and maybe Jackie and her Pet Shop Girl connection, maybe.
Jackie was one of the first authors I met, you know, when I made my debut as a crime writer, and she's a lovely person. She's so kind and so generous, and she writes regular newsletters and always includes as many authors as she can in every newsletter that she does. And she did used to work in a pet shop a long time ago, and I think that's how she met Ali, if I remember right. And what I love about her writing, there's a great moral sense in her writing, and I suspect that's why she likes a book such as Watership Down, because there's a great moral thing ploughing through the heart of it, the core of it. And her writing, you know, she manages to combine a lot of things which for perhaps a lesser writer would be quite tricky. You know, she manages to write about local things, but she also manages to write about big global things at the same time. And there's kind of an interaction between the two, and it doesn't seem tacked on or anything. And it's it kind of feels like, you know, it probably sounds a bit silly, but it kind of feels that this book has really entered my heart, you know, and I feel really glad that I had the chance to read this book, you know, and I won't forget this moment because it's been hugely important, you know, to have had the chance to. I would never have read this book if it hadn't been for Jackie. Basically, it's just not a book that I ever thought to read and take the time to do so, especially, you know, when we've got so many crime novels to read on our to be read pile. So yeah, it's been really good to read it.
Thank you, thank you. Ali, so you chucked in the jobs in social work to open a pet shop together. It's lovely. I love that. Yeah. I wonder, I mean, Ali, Jackie, if you want to write in the chat for us, your favorite animals to look after in the pet shop. If you've got a chance to write that in, that would be lovely to think. What were your favorite animals? Maybe it was the rabbits. I don't know. But anyway, back to the writing in hand. And I'm going to ask the four of you, and this might be a tricky question, so I don't mind which one of you comes back to me first. But if you were, and I know you would, recommend Jackie's writing to people, I wonder if you could sum up in a sentence or two why you think people should read Jackie McLean's writing. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I think she writes a cracking baddie, and I don't want to say too much about him because I don't want to like I say, spoilers for it, but worth reading for the baddie alone, I would say.
Okay, so the creation of that baddie, if you like a good baddie.
Particularly evil.
Particularly evil. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
I think it's for me, it's the sense of place, because as you know, both Tana and Leslie spoke about the locations and how vividly they came to life, and I think she just, you know, in the extract that I read, there was nothing to tell you that they were beside a police headquarters, but all the busyness, the way the bustle was described, the kind of sirens and everything, you knew without being told. I think she does. Someone said tonight, I think it was you, Jackie, that setting is almost a character, and I 100% agree. She takes you into her head in her setting, and you're there. I love it.
So we've had the baddie, the setting. Tana,
Well, do you know, I would have said setting as well. No, that's all right, because I particularly love that piece that I read out there. But for me, I think it has to be because I find them such emotional reads. They take you on a journey, don't they? And I think because she weaves in real life events, and because you know something has happened, it's that sense of empathy that she creates in the reader, I think. And I have to say, I forgot to say this at the start when we were talking about, obviously, the Donna Davenport series, that how many people knew that when Jackie first wrote Toxic, Donna Davenport wasn't actually in the book. She was only in as a bit part. But Jackie loved her so much, she actually rewrote the book and made Donna the main character, and then figured out it was going to be a police procedural because she wasn't quite sure what genre it would lie in. So I just think that's incredible.
That's beautiful. That is utterly beautiful. And what skill to be able to do that as well. You know, you have a book, you have an idea, and you totally change it, or you modify in that sense because of a character that you want to give preeminence to. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that, Tana. Ian, last but by no means least, why would you recommend Jackie's books?
Picking up from what Tana just said, it's that ability, you know, from an editorial point of view as well. She's very incisive with her writing. There's some, it almost borders on literary fiction at times, in terms of how she describes things, like when Marion read out and you mentioned the thing about the basking shark and then basking, and how she segued from one idea to another really seamlessly. And it's things like that. It's a joy to read. I love her writing. It's very clear. I suspect, if I was editing her book, it wouldn't be too difficult, because I think she edits very well in terms of how she writes as well. So I just love her. It's great writing. That's the bottom line. It's just great writing.
Yeah. And that always makes for a great read.
Yes.
Now, again, if people aren't being able to watch the chat there, Ali and Jackie have kindly regaled us that for Ali, favourite animals in the pet shop, guinea pigs and pygmy hedgehogs. And Jackie was quite fond of the fainting piranha. So an interesting combination there of favourite animals. Thank you both for sharing that with us. Well, our session is drawing to a close. I'm so grateful to the four of you for reading and for sharing your thoughts on Jackie's writing, and that link that's there between you and her. And for the people who've been watching and commenting, thank you so much. If you are somebody that is coming to this session after it's been recorded, and if you have any thoughts or questions or anything, do put them in the chat, because I'm sure Jackie will come back and have a look at those as well. And again, thanks, Lindsay, there for putting up the link to Jackie's books. But before we close, I would like to ask Tana, because I do think you have a little bit, we said that there may be some more writing that we might want to get into from Jackie. Do you want to explain to us?
Yes, so we've had the DI Donna Davenport trilogy, which was wonderful, and Jackie is currently writing a brand new series with a completely new fictional detective. So I asked Jackie to tell me a little bit more about this, and she said we have an acting DCI, Morgan O'Malley from Cork. So I think this lady is going to be another very strong protagonist. She'd moved to London and joined the Met to try to track down her missing sister. So already you've got an emotional read there, haven't you? And a reason for this woman to join the police. So she's clearly on a mission, but she's got herself into a bit of bother. So I wonder if there are maybe some similarities with our lovely Donna, who does seem to get herself into a few scrapes. But she got herself into a bit of bother at the Met and was persuaded to put in for a transfer. So she ends up in Glasgow. And she heads up a newly created vigilantes unit. So this sounds really interesting. And what I particularly liked was, I think there may be 3 books in the series. I think she's written the first. I think she may have she's got quite a lot done of the second, if not all of it. I know there is a 3rd book. And she actually said to me that Donna makes an appearance in one of the books, because Jackie has Morgan, this new detective, actually going up to Arbroath to talk to Donna about a female gang in Dundee. So she's obviously, I'm sure, as we know, she's a meticulous planner. She will have done research into female gangs, and she has Morgan O'Malley actually going up to Arbroath. So that's what I know that I've been able to share with you tonight.
Tana, thank you so much for giving us that exciting news. Because for those of us that have read the trilogy, to think that there's more on the way, more of that excellent writing to enjoy. So once again, Tana Collins, Marion Todd, Leslie Kelly, Ian Skewis, Lindsay Adams in the background, thank you so much for making this session possible. It is so good to be able to join together and celebrate great writing excellent writing, and just to get behind an author that we love so much. So Jackie, we send you so much love across the airwaves here, and please do keep writing, because it's just fabulous. Yeah, come on, hold those books up. Let's see them. Yeah, look at that. And again, if you haven't, get into that first series before you can get into the next. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for this evening. See you all soon. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jackie.
Love you, Jackie.